Welcome home, Raiders. Tonight, big surprise shock in Overwatch League in the semifinals. I can't wait to see how this thing turns out. As Convert to Raid presents BattleNet Sports. Hi, everybody, and welcome to BattleNet Sports. My name is Pat Crane. I'm your host. And this week, we are going to be talking Hearthstone with Jocelyn Moffat, talking about HCT Tokyo and the Hearthstone Global Games. Kind of interesting, right? We also have HGC with Jewel Scott. She will be on to talk about week 4 of phase 2. And this is right before all the clashes happen again. So this is kind of deciding, one of the deciding weeks coming up as we go towards Western Clash and Eastern Clash and so on. The other thing that we're going to be talking about, Overwatch League. Overwatch League. There are many fans that are shocked and surprised on both sides of the United States coastline. Or at least rooting for teams along both sides of the United States coast. Yes, it'll be very interesting to talk to Thist about all of those things for Overwatch League. I say we just get to it. Surprises abound in Overwatch League. This last weekend, some very big surprises all over the place. And so to sort it all out, I brought in Thist. Of course, you know Thist from Lagging Balls and the BattleNet News. Hello, Thist.
Hello.
So, as a New York Excelsior fan, how did you feel? How did you feel about this last weekend? And let's maybe get into it.
Confused, maybe.
Right. That's probably one thing. So we'll back it up just a little bit. So this last weekend, we saw the semifinals for the grand, this weekend is the grand finals. Last weekend was the semifinals for the season, Season 1. And we had New York Excelsior going up against Philly. We had the Valiant going against the Spitfire. And it was a shock all the way around.
Oh, yeah.
So what happened with NYXL? What was the final outcome, I guess?
Well, the final outcome was
that New York doesn't get to go to the final outcome.
Yeah, pretty much. Because it's just what everybody assumed was that it would come down to NYXL and Valiant. That's what everybody assumed. And that was a good assumption, I probably would have bet a ton of money on NYXL at least making the grand finals, because why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't anybody? They were consistently the best team this entire season.
Right.
And, I don't know for sure, if they actually picked the Barclays Center in New York, assuming that NYXL would make it to the finals, to sort of draw the home team, sort of oh, this is my home team, so I'm going to go see it to drive up ticket sales or whatever. Doesn't matter. But everybody just assumed that would happen. And Valiant obviously was, they sort of, took a little while to start ramping up in the season. But once they did, they became this unstoppable force. And everybody was really, really stoked because Valiant is a hugely popular team, and NYXL is a hugely popular team, and it was going to be this amazing head-to-head, these two consistently amazing and strong teams going against each other in this spectacular grand finals, the inaugural season grand finals, this historic event. But no, actually what happened was the London Spitfire just went ahead and beat Valiant.
Yeah.
It was Wednesday it was 3-1, and then Friday it was 3-0. And so we're okay, so London is back apparently, they're playing like they did in stage 1 and 2. So that's fine, okay. But nobody saw Philadelphia beating NYXL.
I didn't see that was going to happen, but at the same time, I think I know that if I didn't record it last week, I know that we talked about it afterwards, where it's like you just can't say what's going to happen, because if some team comes along and they get into a hot streak, man, that could really destroy something. That could really put a damper on things for those folks. And we did have a little bit of a meta shift because we had the latest update. So we had the Hanzo changes in there. Instead of Scattershot, he was doing I can't remember what it's called now, but
Storm Arrows.
Yes. So
yeah, it's a not a good reminder. I mean, it's a good reminder, but it's not a pleasant one that like Overwatch is I don't know. It ebbs and flows, and it's ever changing, ever evolving, and part of a good Overwatch League team is keeping up to date and moving with the metas,
Right.
And NYXL has been consistently good, but it did seem like they were like struggling a little bit around like the end of the season.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe it was just like, okay, well, they know that they're going to the playoffs, so maybe they're just trying to take a break or whatever. And that's fine. Like, I would understand that. But just the way that, like, it was so clear that Fusion had a way better handle on this meta than NYXL. And, like, I guess this is, learning the hard way for NYXL, but, like, you can literally be the best team in the league and still get stomped by a team who understands the meta better than you do.
Right.
So, I mean, hopefully, like, this is sort of like a wake up call. Like, maybe like, staying on the forefront of all these changes and stuff will be more of a concern going forward for teams and stuff like that. But
right. And
I don't know, man.
I may have misspoke. I said the latest meta, but it's not actually the latest patch on the game, because it's not the one with Hammond. With Wrecking
No, he's
Ball.
Not in it yet.
It's just the one with the Storm Arrow changes and some of the other update things that happened. And really, it did seem to me that Philadelphia found something in this new update for them where they could really hold on to it and win. And it was just kind of incredible, the aggressiveness of the tanks, and really trying to put pressure onto the NYXL tanks, keeping Pine at bay for the most part. And so they really took their key players and kind of pushed them around. It was it was weird.
It was weird. On the Wednesday when Philly won 3-0 against NYXL, I was literally sitting in Manhattan with the 5 Deadly Venoms watching, and they were beside themselves because, again, like, nobody saw that coming. It was supposed to be an easy win, and Philly did not make that easy. And so, like, they definitely earned their win. Like, they played amazing. EQO was incredible the entire time. Like, he was playing his heart out.
Carpe too, incredible.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like, everybody was they were playing like their lives depended on it. And they definitely deserve to go to the grand finals. But I don't know, man. It almost seems like making predictions in Overwatch League isn't like the most.
Well, so if your emotions are tied into it, it's the hardest heartbreak you've ever felt and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I had to watch Spitfire get rid of my Glads,
Right, exactly. Especially when it's a couple of teams that you really favor, it's kind of it could be tough from time to time. So
totally.
So now what we have for the finals are coming up this weekend, Friday and Saturday, in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, right?
Yep.
So we have the number 5 team, the Spitfire, up against the number 6 team, which is Philadelphia, going into the grand finals, which is so weird to say 5 and 6 are going to grand finals.
I know. It is weird.
But it happens.
I guess it does.
Yeah.
And that's, all in all, like, I'm butthurt because, like, these teams eliminated my favorite teams. Like,
Sure.
I was really, and as somebody going to the thing, like, I was, really hoping that I would at least see NYXL in New York and be able to celebrate with all the New York fans and stuff like that. But that being said, like, if Philadelphia had been my favorite team, like I know a bunch of Spitfire fans who like stuck with their team, as they got worse and worse over the course of the season.
Right.
But like I think there's something to be said about like I don't know, just you can't really predict anything in Overwatch League. And like we've learned that over the course of this year, like you think that this stuff is going to go your way, and then all of a sudden, somebody gets into some controversy and gets kicked out of the team, or you lose somebody because they get homesick, or
right.
they don't want to pretend to try to learn English anymore, or like they get a wrist injury, or they introduce a new character that like completely shakes up the meta. So like you just like at the beginning of the year, we're like, okay, so it's going to be London, it's going to be New York, it's going to be Seoul, but not so much.
Seoul never took off. London was good that first stage, but then kind of ran dry a little bit. And Dallas
and NYXL
Dallas Fuel, which was great on paper, they really turned in a poor performance for those guys in those first few stages. So it was kind of and the Shanghai Dragons just never showed up at all.
They never won.
So I mean, it was just kind of weird. It definitely was an up and down season for the most part, and this is what it should be. We should have, if we're going to have 4 stages in a season, we should have these ups and downs as we get these meta shifts, as we get player adjustments, as we get coaching adjustments as well. So I mean, a lot has gone on, and I am so happy that this season has been the way that it has.
Me too.
Overall,
yeah. I mean, lots of growing pains, lots of controversy, lots of hilarious things happening, trades and coaches and signs and memes and just weird stuff happening. Like it's been not only just, it has been like great gameplay and just an amazing culture that has sprung up around it. And, everything just kept getting more and more exciting. And I don't know, I think to think that this is just like the first season, like it's just gonna expand and expand, and we're all gonna look back on this first season and be like, oh yeah, remember when NYXL was gonna win and then they didn't, and then blah blah blah,
I don't think Philly will say that for sure. All the Philly fans will, because we know how Philly fans are. Anyway, so let's talk about this. I want to hear your prediction for the grand final. Who is going to take season 1? Who's the grand prize winner going to be?
I'm torn because like Philadelphia represents a large group of it's like a multicultural sort of team, like you've got players from all over the world in one team. And I love that. There's even a Canadian. So of course I feel biased. But I also want to see Spitfire win because, like, they better win after kicking my Glads out. Like, that's the least they can do is, like, friggin' win. So, I don't know. But it's, like, honestly, I have no idea at this point. I really don't know.
I think the Spitfire have the edge as far as odds go. But as we saw last weekend, odds mean nothing here. So
nothing, absolutely nothing.
So we'll just report back what we find out after this weekend, after Friday and Saturday. You're going to be there, so make sure to pay attention to this social medias.
Oh yes,
and
I'll have all of the inside scoops.
Right,
something
or whatever, or something. But I look forward to hearing what it was like, what these grand finals were like, especially with all of the Philly fans just invading the Barclays Center this weekend. So
that'll be something.
Right. Another couple of things. And then after this, we don't have Overwatch League for quite some time. It'll be a few weeks until the All-Star thing. And then we'll also have the World Cup, right?
Yep.
When does World Cup start? Do you know?
World Cup starts. So the first group stage is August 17th.
Okay. So it's really only a few weeks until we get into World Cup season.
Yes.
And we should talk about that because a lot of these pro players are going to be in it. So.
Oh yeah. It's going to be so great. I can't wait.
So there is more Overwatch action to be had. It's just it's not Overwatch League.
No.
Right.
But the All-Star game will be great. I mean, that's league-ish.
Yeah.
That starts August 25th and 26th. And I don't know. It's going to be weird, but it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be weird. And we will be there to cover it. So, Fist, thank you very much for today. And we will be talking to you next week. Well, back with us today is Jocelyn Moffett. Hello, Joss.
Hey, Pat.
And so it's time to talk Hearthstone with Joss because she's awesome. And so let's catch everybody up. We had HCT Oakland, and now we're preparing for HCT Tokyo. And really the biggest question that I have for you right now, we don't have deck lists for HCT Tokyo yet, so we don't know exactly what's going on with that stuff. But have we seen anything in the meta? Because we've been talking about the meta for the last few times that you've been on. Has anything been shifting more?
Well, I think the last time we spoke, we were looking at Malagos Druid was kind of just starting to become popular. And that's probably the biggest change that we've seen so far is that Druid and Warlock are both still extraordinarily popular, but we've seen a shift away from Taunt Druid over to the Malagos variant, and that it's the most popular version of Druid right now. So that was probably the biggest change that we saw. We also saw, I think last time we talked about the whole 2-and-2 strategy with 2 aggressive decks and then 2 kind of combo decks, making the lineup harder to actually target.
Yeah.
So we did see more aggressive decks as part of this strategy kind of showing up, as well as some like straight up aggressive lineups. So part of all of that aggression means that there is a Death Rattle Hunter variant that's actually shown up. And I've got to say, this is like my favorite deck to play right now. It's so much fun.
So what does the Death Rattle Hunter do? I mean, what are the key ingredients to a Death Rattle Hunter?
So the Death Rattle Hunter variant, it's kind of a tongue twister sometimes. The Death Rattle Hunter has the Devilsaur eggs in it, which are the 0/3 eggs that pop out a 5/5 when they die. And Hunter now has a lot of tools like Play Dead, and I believe it's called Forlorn Stalker, but I might be thinking of the wrong card. I probably should have looked that up. Anyways, it's the minion, 3 mana minion that you can play that allows your death rattles to happen while keeping the minion on the board. And that's kind of what's key, because you're being aggressive and popping out 5/5s way before you should actually have them, but the egg remains on board, which kind of protects you from any big AoEs, because if they try to AoE your board, they're just going to give you another 5/5. So it's a pretty aggressive build. It's a lot of fun. And then you have Deathstalker Rexar, which can just basically carry you through any mid to late game, right? Because you can just build a beast every turn.
Right.
So
Exactly.
It doesn't have the no late game that some of the other aggressive decks can potentially fall to, right?
Gotcha.
Like usually, sometimes you can run an aggressive deck out of resources, but with Deathstalker Rexar, the Hunter has something to do late game. So.
Gotcha. So let's talk a little bit about Tokyo. When does that actually air, I guess?
So Tokyo is coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
And this is the finals, if you will, for HCT Tokyo. So there were 4 online qualifiers, 1 APAC, 2 global, and 1 specifically for Japan. And so this is the top 16 players who qualified through those tournaments that were played online a couple months ago. So we have a few kind of recognizable names. We've got Dog, Hunter Ace, and Muzzy have all qualified.
Oh, cool.
And this is also kind of interesting because team standing wise, we're looking at Tempo Storm and Nordavind are both being represented. So we're going to basically watch the matches between Muzzy and Hunter Ace, because these are currently our 2nd and 3rd teams in the team standings. We don't actually have Fade to Karma, who is currently 1st in team standings. They don't have a representative at HCT Tokyo. So this might be an kind of time for Tempo Storm and Nordavind to try to kind of close that gap. So pay attention to how Muzzy and Hunter Ace do specifically in this tournament, because it's kind of their chance to catch up.
All right. Sounds good. So that's HCT Tokyo, but there's another thing going on right now. It's the Hearthstone Global Games, right?
Yes, and so Hearthstone Global Games is something that we had last year. It was the first year, and it was kind of a popularity contest, I guess, a little bit. It was a lot of popular streamers as opposed to, and not to say that the quality of Hearthstone was worse last year, but it was like popular streamers versus, like this year, everything is based on HCT points. So they did still have a vote for who was going to be on the teams representing 48 countries. We have 48 countries participating, which is huge.
Wow.
Yeah. So this year, what they did was they took the highest HCT point earners, and then the communities voted on them. So we've got a lot of very, very, very strong teams and strong competitors at the Global Games this year. They also changed the format. So it's now a 6-round Swiss tournament instead of having pools. Last year we had pools and then the top 2 in the pool would move on. But this year it's 6 rounds of Swiss over 6 weeks. So we're currently in week 2 of Hearthstone Global Games play. Okay. All of the games are broadcast on the Play Hearthstone Twitch on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
Okay, and that goes through September, right?
It does, yeah. It takes all the way through August to the beginning of September, and then we will take a top 16 from that Swiss bracket. So we'll get into our top 16 play in September.
Awesome. Is there anything else HCT that we need to know about right this moment, or is there anything else going on? I think we've covered everything.
We've pretty much covered everything. Like I said, HGC Tokyo is coming up, and then we've got the new expansion.
Oh yeah, the new expansion. So we've seen some new cards come about. Your thoughts?
We have. So it's really, really hard because right now we only have about 40 cards from the entire set that we've actually been spoiled, have been revealed. So it's really hard to say right now, but one thing that I think is going to be interesting and kind of a deck to watch coming out of Boomsday is going to potentially be the Treant Druid. Ooh. You can basically take the Treants, because Treants have been around in the Druid class since Classic, right? So these 2/2 tokens are made by things like Living Mana, are made by Force of Nature. Like there's lots of Druid cards that exist in the class that already support a Treant archetype, as well as right now we're seeing Token Druid actually playing out really well and being a powerful deck. So I think with just a couple of substitutions for some of the new Treant cards, a Treant Token Druid is actually going to be quite powerful. So I'm looking forward to seeing what actually happens with that.
Awesome. Well, please keep us informed as we progress. I mean, it's only like a couple of weeks away, right? So
it is, yeah. The expansion launches, I believe, August 7th.
Wow.
So yeah, it's coming very, very quickly. I can't believe that we have an expansion coming in like less than 2 weeks, and we don't have all the cards yet.
Right. It seems like just yesterday we like Witchwood, launched. It seems like just yesterday. However, now I
think it's because we had those nerfs, so it changed the meta halfway through. Yeah,
probably. But I finally have all the cards. Now I gotta build up new cards again. Oh, dang it. All right. Well, Jocelyn Moffett, thank you very much for joining me today, and we will talk to you next time.
Thanks for having me, Pat.
We are in the heat of things in HGC, everybody. We are in the heat of the phase 2. We are in week 4. Only one more week, and then we go into the clashes. And here with us is Jules Scott. You know Jules from Nerf This and from Torn Think Tank and all around the internet. Hello, Jules.
Hello. It's exciting stuff this week I've got for you.
I heard that there were some amazing things. We have winners, like new winners, and then we have new losers as well.
Well, you're so mean. It's like, can we talk about just like the winners and be nice about it? But
if you have an undefeated team go up against an undefeated team, you're going to have one team that's been defeated, right?
That's true.
So
that is true.
So there you go.
Cannot deny the truth of that.
Right. Right. So fill us in. What's been going on?
Okay, so first off, we need, and I didn't mention this last week, but coming into this week was our first week of HGC with the 3 bans in draft, which was a new addition that came into Hero League and added to HGC about 2 weeks afterwards, plus shorter hero selection timers. Yep. So it did change a lot of the way that teams were selecting, how quickly they could select, because it went from like almost a minute to be able to select each hero or ban each hero to 25 seconds, which doesn't sound like a ton, but it moves things along fast.
I bet.
So yeah, so that was the news that was coming into this week. We were all pretty excited to see. We might see some new heroes coming into the pool now because we were banning out more things. So now we've got, I'm going to start with NA. We had the big matchup of the week, which was Heroes Hearth eSports versus Tempo Storm. And I was like, buckle in. This is going to be a blowout, just it's going to go to 5.
A rough and tumble game that we don't know where it's going to end up.
Yeah, right. It's going to go to 5 games. I was almost certain of it. Right. And it was a clean 3-0.
Well, there have been a lot of surprises this week in all the different esports, so it's the surprise is kind of unsurprising at this point.
I know. And the clean 3-0 came from Heroes Hearth Esports, which in all kind of intents and purposes, you'd say that's kind of a surprise still, even though Tempo Storm has been adjusting to a new player in their roster. But Heroes Hearth is now securely in first place. They cannot be knocked out of it before the Western Clash. And they actually secured their spot to the Western Clash before their matchup with Tempo Storm. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
The other big news of the weekend for NA is that there are no more NA teams with 0 wins.
Yay!
Everyone's got to win.
Yay! Everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
No.
Not really.
No, they don't.
Not really.
No, they don't. But they at least don't have to feel like they're going in 0-6, 0-7 to the next part of the split. So we had LFM Esports gaining their first victory over Simplicity this weekend. They got a 3-1, which was pretty decisive, pretty awesome to see. But the big news of the weekend, which was really fun to watch, was No Tomorrow taking their first win in phase 2 over Simplicity. And when it came down to it, they interviewed the tank player Jin, who had come in at the latter part of phase 1. One of their previous players, Jason, had left the team for personal reasons. And this was Jin's first HGC win as an HGC player in 4 months of playing.
Wow.
So 4 months
cool.
competing, and he didn't give up. It was so the winner's interview was actually super sweet and really kind of emotional. Like everyone was going, "This is so nice." Like everybody was just so it was awesome. And Jen even said afterwards he thought he was going to get flamed for his bad interview skills, but people showed him the love, and everybody likes to see.
If you're sweet, if you're sweet, you can get away with anything. Come on.
That's right. Exactly.
Right.
So yeah, this was a huge deal for No Tomorrow, and now we are looking to who's going to qualify for the Western Clash. Now, do you want me to talk about EU before we kind of get to Western Clash stuff?
Let's talk Western Clash now, and then we'll go over into the EU side of things. But let's talk NA for right now.
Sure. So who's going to qualify for the Western Clash? We know for sure that it's Heroes Hearth and Tempo Storm. They've got spots. And it's the top 4 teams that will get in to go to Burbank in a couple of weeks. So right now it's 3rd and 4th place, and it's between Team Freedom, Octalysis, and Endemic.
Okay.
Those decider games are actually going to be happening this weekend. So Team Freedom and Octalysis, they play each other Friday night, 6 p.m. Central, and then Endemic takes on Tempo Storm on Saturday, and these are going to decide if these guys make it and where they qualify in the spots. And right now, based on the statistics and the possibilities of all the scenarios, Team Freedom is most likely going to be in, and Endemic is most likely out. But it could change based off of the standings. Yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
And it's always kind of like the middle of the teams where you see the most kind of a switchery going on. You know, it's like the top team or 2 are usually pretty okay. This is my thing with just all esports this year. It seems like the top 2 teams are usually pretty safe. The bottom 2 teams are usually pretty secure in their position as well. It's just those guys right on the bubble that are just always super tight, playing really well, but maybe not making all the plays, and it gets tense in there.
It is, and it's going to be super exciting this weekend. There are no Sunday matches this week. It's only Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
So those are the 2 matchups in NA that you're going to want to watch if you are a fan. And I will definitely be watching to see how everything turns out for NA, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be cool to see it.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk EU. What's been happening over there? We do have somebody that hasn't won a game over on the EU side of things.
Zealots, man. They're just... I feel bad for those guys. They worked really hard.
How can you not? It's tough when you're 0-6 at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So. They just need to regroup and figure some things out during the break of time that they don't have to compete every week. Mm-hmm. So right now we're looking at Team Dignitas sitting firmly in first place at 6-0 and Method at 5-1 in second place. And third place is locked in with Team Liquid, though they almost had a problem this weekend because Granite Gaming took them to 5 games. Liquid came out on top, so they lock in the third place spot.
Right.
Now there's 3 teams fighting for that 4th place seed, and that's Leftovers, Fnatic, and Granite Gaming. And some of those deciding matches are also going to take place this weekend. So here's what you would want to watch if you were an EU fan. You're going to want to watch Friday at 11 o'clock Central, Monkey Menagerie versus Fnatic.
Okay.
And Saturday at 11 o'clock is Granite Gaming versus Leftovers. It's the 2 of the teams going up against each other that could be vying for that spot.
And that could be the telling one right there, especially.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Leftovers is the one with the best statistical chance to make it. They definitely are favored to win over Fnatic and Granite Gaming, but things could change.
Sure.
So there you go.
Mm-hmm. Right on. All right, and then we have all of that stuff coming up this weekend, and then we have a break of a week, and then we have the Western Clash, and then we'll have the Eastern Clash. So we'll come back next week. We'll do a little preview for the Western Clash and see how it comes out.
I'm excited.
It's cool. It's always kind of interesting when we get to the Clash point. I always like that. Well, Jules, Scott, thank you very much for all of your insight, and we will talk to you very, very soon.
See you guys next week.
And that is going to do it for this episode of the BattleNet Sports. I want to thank our contributors, Jocelyn, Jules, and Fist. Thank you guys so much for all of your insight and knowledge. And I want to thank you guys, no matter where you're listening to us. Thank you very much for stopping by. And if you want to catch more of what we do at Convert to Raid, just go over to converttoraid.com. That's where we have all of our stuff. We have our videos. We have our audio stuff. We have our if you're interested in joining our WoW guild, all of that stuff is over there. And our Discord information as well. So make sure to pop on by converttoraid.com. And that is also where you can find the Convert to Raid podcast network. It features shows from all of our contributors here on this particular episode and our regulars over on the BattleNet news side of things. So make sure to go to converttoraid.com, do it, and until next time, for all the guys here at Convert to Raid, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.